Because it's my first experience, Kenneth's going to get married out of the religion, which to me was very traumatic at the time, and very traumatic to Oscar too. So we met Ricardo in California at we'd gone to a medical meeting, and that's Kenneth calls and says, I'm going to take a girl out for dinner. I don't think you're going to like her. So I said, well, look, you're only taking her out for dinner. You know, it's fine. We'll like her. Bring her up. Well, when I saw Ricardo, I knew Ricardo was very, very attractive. I mean, she really was. And so that was that. So Kenneth decides he wants to get married, and Ricardo follows him to Denver. And it was on a holiday time, and I go up to try to break up this thing, and it doesn't work. So they're getting married. So Ricardo takes, well, Ricardo knew a lot about Judaism. She had been an au pair girl in England, and she worked for a Jewish family, the Habers. And she knew, I think, more about Judaism than I did, you know. She really did. She knew a lot. And all right. So they finally get married. Ricardo arranged with the rabbi, uh, Joseph Gold, Goldstein, yeah, and Temple Micah. And they get married. Ricardo looked very nice at the wedding, and she made a reception at one of the hotels. It was all very nice. And then before you knew it, Heidi was on the way. They had a little house on Grape Street. It was a nice house. And Heidi is born. And I came up, and then we brought Heidi home. And Heidi had a problem with pronation of the feet. So that was a problem. But whenever we came a few times up to Denver. Ricardo was always very, very hospitable, very nice. And so it was. We had good times like that. And then comes, 3 years later, Eric comes on the scene. Eric also has a little problem with the feet for some reason. And am I right about that?
He couldn't swallow.
Oh, wait a minute. That's right. Eric had another thing. We got called. See how you forget things. It wasn't the swallow. Eric had something had happened to him during the delivery. Something up here in the yeah. They told Oscar something that with the skull, something or other, and he couldn't swallow. And then Oscar found out that what happened was he'd get the food, and he'd regurgitate. Pyloric stenosis. He'd regurgitate his food. So Oscar, we were up there, and Oscar had him, and he realized it was the peristalsis that he felt. That was, I can't remember, was he operated on? Yes, he was operated on. And after that, he was okay. So that took a little, people weren't happy about it. You get irritable with things like that and so on. And they grew up, get a little older, and then years went by, a few years. As I say, every time we came up, it was nice. And we bought things for their house and try to help them get started. And then something happened, and they decided to have a divorce. And I wasn't happy about that because I'm not a great believer in divorce. So, at least at that time. And but that was the decision. So we came up, and I remember Heidi and Eric felt very bad about us leaving. They were crying and so on. But thereafter, always, every summer practically, Heidi and Eric were here with me, with us. We sent them to camp. We did all kinds of things. So that's how the summers went by. And then you met somebody else, Kenneth, and stayed married there for a while. That didn't work out. The children didn't like Helen very much. I know particular Eric used to complain. He never liked Helen. And So that broke up. And then you met another girl, Lisa, and Lisa was funny. She really told nice stories. And she told me the story about how she met you, and you were going to cook a Thanksgiving dinner for Heidi and Eric. You went to the Y to study cooking. Was that? Am I right about that?
No, it was a cooking class.
A cooking class, yeah. So you took the class, and you met Lisa saw you, and she said when she saw you, she thought she didn't quite know. She saw you wearing a pager, so she figured you were either a plumber or a doctor. That's Lisa. So she says then, when she found out you were the doctor, so she threw out her fishing tackle and caught you. That was the way she put it. So, and I think that's been, then we met your in-laws, and yeah, they made a beautiful wedding for you, Kenneth. That was a beautiful wedding. And Heidi and Eric were part of the wedding and so on. But I always maintained my friendship with Ricarda, because Ricarda was the mother of my grandchildren. And I felt, I liked Ricarda basically. She had never been anything but nice to me. And so I thought, and through the years, it's just been that way. Ricarda and I have see eye to eye. In fact, I got an email from her yesterday, said, enjoy your sons. and we've, you know, and as I say, and I think that Heidi and Eric, Heidi once said to me, how come you are friendly with my mother, you know? I said, why? Why shouldn't I be friendly with your mother? I like your mother. So, I mean, they, I think, felt good about the fact through the years that I've been friendly with their mother. And it made a whole different kind of relationship. And I think Heidi and Eric, remarkably, I think, have turned out to be wonderful considering all the things that they went through in their lives. I know they had some bad experiences when they lived with Helen. And I remember one or two, I'm not going to go into those, that Eric complained about and so on. So, and Heidi did too. So I think that everything now went smoothly. And as I say, they came here every summer and we enjoyed them. Even though I was at the office, they used to go to Carnegie. I had them picked up and so on. And you, Richard, have to talk about you at Carnegie too while I'm talking. You went to Carnegie and that the $300 a week, and you thought you were being punished. I'm paying $300 a week for camp, and he's being punished, you know? So at first, he didn't want to go, okay? Well, he's there about 2 weeks. We were only going to let him stay 3 weeks. I get a call from Labby. Come on, Florence, what's going on? Why don't you get off the duff? Why do you keep saying, I'll see? Either let him stay or don't stay. I said, well, tell me something, Labby. What's the attraction? Why does he want to stay when he didn't want to stay? He says, well, you ought to figure it out. It's easy. There's a cute girl up here. So, so that was the attraction. So you stayed the extra week. Okay. So we punished you by sending you to an outstanding camp.
We've got about 20 minutes left.
Okay,
Any
so.
stories about Richard, about...
Well, I want to
one story about his being in Amsterdam. That's such a wonderful story. Or is being lost in Europe when he went to Europe?
Oh, yeah. Well, Richard had an advantage. I mean, he went to Europe and Israel at a marvelous time. He went to Israel right after the Six-Day War, and he met on the plane someone who was connected with the war, or a student, or someone who knew a general or whatever. And this person introduced him to someone who was able, a general, I think, to take him up in the plane and take him all around and show him everything where the war was and how they won it and so on. So Richard, except that when he was in France, he stayed at the wrong side. He was on the wherever France is, that east side of France, you know, and there was a student riot. So he sticks his head out, and they're beating them with those billy clubs of theirs. And he says, wait a minute, I'm an American. So they beat him harder because he's an American. So that was his experience. Now in Europe, He goes to Amsterdam, and we're supposed to hear from him. We don't hear anything. So I got in touch with the
Consul.
consul there, left a message and whatnot. Finally,
I got a call in the middle of the night.
you did too. Well, who
From
called?
you.
From me.
From Dad.
Yeah, well, Dad, I told Dad was always nervous. You've crossed the street, you had to cross the right way. So, I mean, you make sure you got to the other side.
Into a canal.
What?
Drove into a canal, I thought.
Yeah, that's what he thought of the worst possible things he could think of. He always thought of the worst possible things. So, you know, he had all kinds of visions, whatnot. But anyhow, it turned out to be all right. We finally heard from him. And I don't know, he got mixed up with a girl there, had a good time. He forgot about his family, which was normal. It was normal. So that was that. What else can I say? Oh, there are so many things with trips. The trip to Israel. When I got I was at a party, a doctor party. Feels like, oh, somebody's walking. And the AMA magazine came through that day, and I'm reading that there's going to be the first time in the history of the United States, the medical meeting's being taken out, the annual meeting, which always is in June, is being taken out earlier, and it's being taken to Israel in conjunction with the Israel Medical Society. And they made you an offer that you couldn't refuse. What was it, $995 for 3 weeks, including plane, staying at the Hilton Hotel, and all the things that go along with it. So, I mean, it sounded very exciting. So, at the party, this woman whose husband was a orthopedic surgeon, she's telling me that she's going to the medical meeting in October. There's an orthopedic meeting. So she says, she's the one who says, well, did you read the AMA magazine yet today? I said, no. She says, well, I'm so sorry that we're going to that meeting because there's this meeting in Israel that she says, if we'd have known, we never would have hooked up for this orthopedic thing. She says, it's outstanding. So I rush home. I said, we got to go get that AMA magazine. It was in the office. We rush home, get the magazine, read it, and it didn't take a day, believe me. We made the arrangements, and it was a 3-week deal. And Oscar turned the office over. He hated to do that, but I said, forget it. This is an opportunity, you know. When he was on his dying bed, right in the bedroom there, I can remember his words. He said to me, the nicest thing that you ever did was when you insisted that we go to Israel. He says, that was one of the best days of my life. He says, I loved that. And he did. And while we were on this trip, he always lagged behind. He was always he was curious. And we had this Joe, he was the tourist guide. There were 2 of them. The one drove the bus and the other one, and they alternated. They both had to know the same things. One had to give the tour, and they took turns, you see. So we always walked with him and talked with him and so on. And he knew a lot of this. He always walked with that Bible, and he knew, Oscar, knew all that history, you know, with the different spots that we stopped at and so on. Because he was really, I told you, he was a historian. He could have easily been a history teacher because he really knew his history very well. So, so that was a very interesting trip, and we had a wonderful time. We go to Israel. We go to Jerusalem that day. That's a terrific story. We were staying at the Hilton Hotel. We go to Jerusalem that day. We come back, and we go up to our room, which was on the 4th floor facing the Mediterranean Sea. Beautiful room with a little place to walk out on, a little terrace. And I knock at the door, and there's someone says, just a minute, please, just a minute, please. What's going on? Just a minute, please, in my room, you know? And she says, just a minute. And she comes to the door and she says, oh no, she says, just a minute, please. My husband's on the phone. He's in his birthday suit, just something like that. I said, what's going on? So I said to Oscar, I'm going downstairs to see what's all about. I get downstairs to the desk, and the fellow says, oh, we forgot to tell you that when you were in Jerusalem, a pipe burst in your room, and we had to put you into another room. And he says, we really made a mistake. We should have put that message in your box, so you would have known to go to room 7 so and so, because they gave us room 700 or something. So I said, okay. So we come into the room, on the 700 room, and there's flowers and there's candy and there's, I said, come on, there's something going on. It has nothing to do with a pipe bursting. So I said, I'm taking this key and I'm going back up to the 4th floor and giving them the key. So I knock at the door again, and they had taken a whole corner. See, we had a closed door that led to another room, but they had taken the whole suite. And it turns out it was the conductor of the Israel Orchestra. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. She was a blonde, he's dark, he was an Indian descent. Can you think of who it was? With a B?
Zubin Mehta?
Zubin Mehta, with a B. Zubin Mehta. So that's who it was. So she says, she says, I'm Mrs. Mehta. She introduced us. She's, Zubin. She says, we're here because they were going to lead the concert. Incidentally, when we got to Israel, the first night they had the Israel Symphony. It was a formal night at the Symphony Hall. It was really beautiful. And that whole tour and that whole thing was very wonderful. Greatest thing that really ever happened to me, I would think. So, so anyhow, I get down, and there were several doctors from Tucson, and we tell everybody that as a story, and they all started with, how did they put it? Zubin made us sleeping in the bed that Oscar slept in. Used to say that about George Washington, So they started with that whole nonsense, talking that way. Okay. So that was that. We had a great time in Israel. We get back. We get met by Uncle Henry at the airport, and they take us to either Henry's house or Lenny's house. I don't remember who. And I had bought one of those things that Arafat wears for $1.50, and one of those hats, And no, there's another name for it, and just can't think of it. So I take Oscar into the bedroom, and I had put that on top purposely, and opened the suitcase and put him on with that. When he walks in, Henry and Lenny and everybody, they nearly collapse. We had so much fun with that, And there again, none of them had ever been to Israel or anything. So, of course, they had us talking and so on. And that whole Israel experience was a lot of fun. We get back to Tucson, and Blanche Safurla says to me, I have an invitation. No, by this time they knew the story too, I have an invitation to meet Zubin Mehta. He's coming here for the symphony, for our symphony. And he's invited, of course, the president, and the president invites certain people to come to the party. She says, and I think, and Chris thinks, that you and Oscar should go in our place and view the fact of what happened in Israel. So, okay, we go. We go there, and he's standing and talking to, and he and his wife, to the president, whose name was Schaefer at the time. And they're talking, and so on. I sidle up. We sidle up very slowly there, and just stand there for a minute. And all of a sudden, she spots us. She says, Zubin, look who's here, the people whose room we took in Israel. And of course, that solidified what happened. There was never a pipe broken. They liked that room, and it turned out that whenever they came to Israel, that's the room, the suite they liked. So they quickly dismissed us and put us in another room, which was okay. But it was such a climax when she said, Zubin, these are the people whose room we took, And as I say, coming back to Oscar, he really appreciated that Israel trip, because he was one that could appreciate it and understood it. He really had so much on the ball along those lines. In his quiet way, he knew more than a lot of other people knew, And of course, his family idolized him. Henry, Lenny, I mean, there was no one like Oscar, you know, everything was Oscar in that family. He was the oldest, and I was the oldest in my family. And I mean, all through the years, I want you to know, whenever we went places, they always came with us. We always took the couples along. Remember playing the rhyming game, going up, and of course, you know, I played the rhyming game. You, Kenneth, played the rhyming game. So, you know, I gave flower, bower, shower. You knew a lot of the words, and all of a sudden, for some dumb reason, I said luck, and you said the right word. My father-in-law's in the car. He didn't understand why he's saying that word. It was funny. You didn't know what it meant, of course, but you said the right word.
How do you like the women in our lives now? Talk about them.
Well, let's see. You know, at my party, when you came out with this business about, I had more mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws than anybody. Everybody was hysterical. And I think that was a nice party. I really think that was sort of a very nice atmosphere. And I have Dorothy to thank for that, because Dorothy picked that place. I didn't know too much about La Mariposa. And none of the people I knew that place. So everybody wanted to know why I'm having a place in the country. I said, you know, because I just liked the atmosphere, and the maitre d' there was very charming. And I really wish Oscar could have been there. You know, incidentally, I had I think it was my 42nd anniversary party at the Hidden Valley place there. And that was a very, very nice party too. I think I have the pictures.
Answer Richard's question, and then I want to know the most important things that you learned in your long life.
Okay.
So he had a question.
All right. What was the question? I can't remember. All right.
I said I wanted you to. What do you think about the women?
Oh, I think they're both very, very nice. I think these are the kind of girls that a mother-in-law could really, really appreciate. They're respectful, they're kind, and if they're nice to my sons, naturally, that's the most important thing. And if my sons are happy with the women, I think that's very, very nice. And I like Lisa very much. At first, I find it a little hard to get close to Lisa. But as I've gotten to know her now, you must be married, what, 12 years?
Yeah, 14.
14 years. So as the time has gone by, I've really learned to like Lisa very much. I really do. And Joyce, I've liked right from the start, because she's always been very warm and very easy to get close to. She's really a lovely girl. And I just hope that the two of you are very happy with both, and stay happy for a long time, forever, if necessary. Because I think it's nice. It's not hard. It's not, it's not easy to find the right kind of person. That's why there are so many divorces. I mean, if there was somebody who could guide people into, you know, some kind of magic formula, that would be fine. But I want to wind up by saying that when I look at the two of you, first of all, this weekend has been, I don't even know how to put it in words, watching the two of you with the camaraderie, that I think is the greatest. I mean, and I feel as though I hope this camaraderie will last forever. I won't be forever. I'm the catalyst that brings both of you together, because naturally you both come to see me. But when I'm gone, and you have each other, you don't have, or you have your wives and so on, but it's still a really blood relation, and I hope it continues forever. Also, not writing into my wills, we have everything in 3. You own this house with me. I mean, the way it's written now. So when you come, you're coming to your own house, really. But I'm not having a will where my will does say that you share everything, the two of you. But I'm not putting in about what I want the grandchildren to have and so on. But I'm relying on the two of you to give the grandchildren something, each one, as off from me when I go. And whatever you inherit, I don't know how much money there'll be left. And a little to Ricardo, too, something, because she's been almost like a daughter to me many, many times. So that's one of my great wishes, and I hope you abide by it.
Honor those wishes.
Huh?
Honor those
Honor
wishes.
those wishes or abide those wishes. I never say promise because I don't like the word promise. Person can make a promise and something happens that the promise can't be fulfilled. So you're better off not using the word promise at any time. And I think the two of you are really something to be proud of, and I'm very, very
And
proud
what do
to.
you think the most important quality, or
In life,
in life that you, for you, what's the most important quality?
probably for me, my most important quality, number one is loyalty, and number two is honesty and fraternity. I believe in family. I believe that you can have a million friends, but there's nothing like a family friend who's someone that you can really feel close to. I think that's very important. And I do think that, as I say, honesty and loyalty are two very important. Be honest. Don't um, don't camouflage. I mean, for example, I'll give you an example. Down at the zoo, a rumor comes through, and the rumor is that the new person who's coming in doesn't like senior citizens anymore. She'd like to get the senior citizens out of the docent area. Okay? So I don't like rumors. That's number one. So I had the opportunity to be in her company not too long after I had heard that rumor. And it was already funny how that came about because one of the keepers who's been there as long as I am, and he comes from New York and we've been very friendly, Mark, said to me, "Hey, Florence, don't you think it's time to hang up our hats?" And Vivian happened to be there and she overheard the conversation. So I said, so she said, "Oh no," she says, "I don't think you should." She says, "The two of you are too valuable to us." I said, "Vivian, I have to talk to you." I said, "And I don't like rumors." I said, "Vivian, did you say that you want to get rid of us senior citizens?" She said, "Where did that come from?" I said, "I don't know, but that's what I was told." She says, "Well, the only thing I can think of is this. You know, we get a lot of the teenagers who are docents now from high school and so on. And I did say that during the summer, when the seniors rather, go on vacation, we can replace them with the teenagers," she says, and that's where it came from. So that's what I mean by being honest. I mean, if I was going to carry this thing around with me that she said that and I'd get angry, this way I accosted her, the truth came out, the honesty is there. So it's honesty and loyalty and family. These are the two things that I am proud of.
There's 1 minute left. What do you want to say?
Okay. I love you both very much. I appreciate your coming here for this weekend. And I just love the children, the grandchildren. And of course, now with Heidi, I'm going to be a great grandmother, Gigi. I hope that Heidi's making the right choice. I hope she's doing the right thing. And I wish her nothing but the best in her life. I've never seen her as happy as she is right now. And I think that's important too. Happiness is an important thing. And Heidi's had a lot of sadness in her life too. So if she's happy, and whatever great happiness she has, I think we have to support her in her happiness. So those are and Eric too. Eric is an outstanding young man, talented, and I hope him I hope he finds a nice girl.